Cougar Tracks Extra starts now. Powered by Perry Homes.
All right, welcome on into a special edition of Cougar Tracks Extra. Glad to have you with us. I'm Alex Kirry. He's Dave Noriega, and we come to you every Saturday, of course, on Cougar Sports Saturday. But during the football season, we're trying to hit you up with a little bit of Cougar Sports Saturday midweek as well. So as we get you your midweek fix on BYU sports and BYU in general, of course, football takes center stage, Dave, but let's talk a little bit about today. I chatted with a few of the players after practice, and they had a general kind of media scrum with Fred Warner. And Fred Warner is one of those guys who, of course, he's my preseason MVP on defense.
He's your guy.
Why don't you go ahead and tell Fred, if he's watching this, who you picked as the MVP for the defense for 2016?
Big sorry, Fred, but I chose Harvey Longy.
So
Harv!
Dave has the guts to admit it, at least. But today he was asked about the BYU-Utah rivalry. And I thought it was interesting because he was asked, just kind of the generic questions about what do you think about this game. And he's depending on what mood you catch Fred or any football player, frankly, on any different day, he was pretty open about the whole thing. Sometimes rivalry week really creates, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, but it creates an energy in the players that you have never seen before on the field, and it creates the reverse effect for interviews. A lot of times, like, oh, no, the game's just any other game.
They're so incredibly jacked up. They're so excited. And then you put a microphone in their face. They're like, well, it's just like any other game.
Well, the PR guy gets them.
How about the ginormous clock that has the countdown to your rival that every school seems to have?
Oh, yeah.
But no, it's just like any other game.
Here's Fred Warner reacting today to a few questions in the media scrum. It's about a minute of answers here. One of my favorite questions, though, was how you dealt with that game, the Las Vegas Bowl. Take a listen to what he said about that and many other things pertaining to the Utah game coming up on Saturday.
Yeah, they're obviously every year they're a very good team. Defense has a lot of guys returning. They're a very physical team. One of the best D lines in in all the nation. Offensively, I feel like they have a lot of new players. New quarterbacks, so they're still trying to figure that out. But they still look good in SUU, so it'll be a good game.
What did you see from their quarterback in that first game? Who's he compared to?
Who does he compare to? I think he's a lot like the first quarterback we faced. Andrew Solomon. He's shifty. Dual threat quarterback. I feel like they try and keep the route concepts fairly simple. I wouldn't say fairly simple, but just putting him in a situation to be successful. I think that's what they're trying to do with him, just since he's a new guy. But yeah.
What was it like to live through the first quarter of the Las Vegas Bowl?
I was fairly hopeful. I had a pretty good mindset going into the game, and I wanted to win that game really badly. When we went down a lot, every single time they'd score a touchdown or get up on us, I'd be like, it couldn't get any worse from here, and it would keep getting worse. But anyway, you just got to keep playing. You can't really worry about what they're doing. You only control what you're doing.
So leave it up to bring up one of the most painful moments in BYU history. Like, hey, do you remember how bad that was?
Hey, remember?
Do you remember that?
Remember?
Idiot! God, so stupid. What a dumb question.
Any question is a good question if the answer is good.
That's true.
I've asked a number of amazing questions that got terrible answers.
They're bad questions.
They're bad questions.
So when Fred was asked that question, I pointed this out to you earlier today too. I go, Fred actually laughed about it. He's like, we're down on all these points, and then we thought, well, it can't get any worse than this. And sure enough, it gets worse. Ha ha ha! Everyone has a little laugh in the media scrum, and I thought, imagine asking that question the day of. What was going through your mind in that first quarter there, Fred? And it's like,
and then he stabs
what
him.
do you think was
what
going through my head?
What do you think? It was stupid. It was the worst moment of my life, and thanks a lot for bringing that up. I just broke up with my girlfriend. Would you like to bring that up as well? I mean, why would you? No, it's fun that they can understand that game was so ridiculous.
It was.
It was so incredibly ridiculous that really you have to laugh at it. It'll never happen again. I mean, in the history of BYU football, they've never had a quarter like that, and they never will have another quarter like that.
Wait, hold on.
And the fact that it was against the rival, I mean, that just made it even more
Didn't they
painful.
have one of those against the rival, like third, fourth quarter-ish? I don't know, 2010?
Max Hall?
54-10 is what I was thinking.
Max Hall?
No, and Max Hall. No, but listen, okay, I see what you're saying.
No.
Fred was asked about something.
He was asked about the first quarter.
He was asked about the first quarter, but I was bringing up also something that he had answered, which was, you know what, like, I think we were good enough to win that game. It was just a matter of not executing on a handful of plays.
Yeah.
And what he's saying is you know, a lot of people will go, oh, whatever. You're always going to say we were good enough to win that game, but you didn't win the game, so obviously you weren't good enough to win the game. I think what he means is talent-wise they're there. And then Utah shows up, executes better on a handful of plays while they are on the same plane, you know what I mean, talent-wise. And I think that is probably what we're going to see on Saturday as well. It's what we almost always get with the rivalry game, 15 out of 20, decided by 7 points or less over the last 20 years. So,
do you buy Troy Williams as a new Solomon?
I buy that he's better than a new Solomon. I don't think I don't think Troy Williams. I think a new Solomon is somebody. He's like a shadow of his former self from his freshman year, and I think that Troy Williams is actually a better athlete, better arm strength, will throw the ball better. And if you think that 24-0 was not a good enough win over Southern Utah, then you're playing right into the narrative that Kyle Whittingham would, which is like, oh, whoops, we only beat this FCS team by 3 touchdowns and a field goal. Oh, sorry. And then they come in.
We're barely a Division I program ourselves. That's exactly what Kyle wants to say.
They'll whoop on you. Utah will whoop on you, and they've showed BYU that in the past. And if you think that Kalani Sitake, of all people, is not privy to this, then you're dead wrong. All right, we're gonna cut it off there, Dave.
He knows the Kyle Whittingham narrative. He knows how that guy works.
Subscribe to the podcast, Cougar Sports Saturday. We'll also drop Cougar Tracks for your Cougar Tracks Extra fix as well. Find it online and where many fine podcasts are sold across this fine valley. They're not sold; they're free. Just download them. I tell people this all the time. Tell a friend, teach a neighbor. Teach your neighbor how to download podcasts, because that's half of the issue, okay? So for Dave Noriega, I'm Alex Kirry, special edition of Cougar Sports Saturday Midweek during Rivalry Week right here on KSL News Radio and on the KSL News Radio app.